right, thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. It is time to get started, and out of respect for everybody's time, we're going to go ahead and get going on this exciting webinar that we have today. I just want to take a quick moment and introduce our team and our panelists that we have on with us today. I am Emily Rahana. I am the Director of Sales. Many of you have interacted with me before. Some of you have not, so it's wonderful to meet you. I'm joined by our fabulous sales manager, Mackenzie Huddleston, who all of you should have close communication with, of course, because she is who does it all. Ruby Manuel is our sales coordinator. You have also, I'm sure, heard from her, and Jennifer Baldwin, who is a longtime fixture of our team too. So they are joined today with us by Jackie Goodman. Jackie Goodman has been a huge part of our team for a long time. I'm sure you guys have all had a chance to sit down with her. She is not only a former partner agent, but she's a real estate expert. So she is great to be able to sit down and talk to. And she is how this wonderful idea was born. We started talking about how can we gather some of our top performers, get some best tips and tricks out to our partners across the program. So here we are joined by partner agents from across the country. We have Ashley in Tampa, and we have Andrew with us, who is also in Florida in the Miami Broward County area. Priscilla is joining us from Chicago, Katie from the Bay Area in California, Terry is in the Raleigh area of North Carolina, and Lucy is joined to us by Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So first and foremost, huge thank you to our partner agents that are taking time to be with us today, but our panelists that took time to say yes to helping their fellow partner agents out, preparing thoughtful insight into how they run their business and are successful, and made time to sit down with us today. So we will get kicked off now that we have introductions out of the way. Really, again, this is designed to hear from our partner agents across the country. They are in different markets. Some are destination markets, some are not destination markets. And some of the partners that you see here today are newer to our program, and some are seasoned veterans. So you'll be able to really hear from a little bit of perspective from everyone. So really excited to hear what they have to share today. We have some questions prepared. We will go through those questions. This is a webinar style, so you will remain muted, but you can use the chat or the Q&A to ask questions about what is being discussed. If there's time, we will go over those questions, and we will have a little bit of time at the end to go over those questions as well. And then just as a note, next month in July, we're going to collect all of the feedback that we received today, and we will touch on it next month in July in a Huddle webinar. So if you feel like your question wasn't answered, or maybe it was around Huddle, keep that question in mind, meet with us next month, and we'll go over it then. So we'll go ahead and get kicked off, and Ashley in Tampa is going to start us off. And the first question that we're going to ask, we'll go around the table and let all of our partners answer this question, and then we'll go from there. So first, Ashley, what is one thing that you consistently do that you believe has played a major role in your success?
Yeah, great question. I think it's follow-up. I use Huddle religiously. I'm in it 5, 6, 7 times a day. So it's the emails, the calling, the texting. It's not always sales related. Sometimes it's just a quick fun text like, hey, just checking in. How was your holiday?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. Huddle is definitely key for that follow-up process. So thanks for sharing that. We will go ahead and move on to Priscilla and let her share her perspective in that same question of one thing you do consistently that you believe has played a major role in your success.
Good morning. So I reach out to my new leads. I try to make 8 reaches, 8 touches before I nurture them. I think that's important. I don't hammer them right away with phone calls. I try to call them back right away as quickly as I can when the lead comes through. Then I may call them again that day or for sure that the next day, but then I put them into a rotation where I use emails, text, and I really don't go to nurture until I've tried 8 touches.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. Definitely a solid process that you have in place. And it sounds like you use that process every time, which is key, that consistency. Okay, let's go to Andrew and hear from Andrew in the Miami area in Florida.
So for me, it's basically I find the most successful I've been is when the lead comes in and you catch them right away within the first, I would say try to catch them within the first 2 minutes. If you catch them within the first 2 minutes, that you'll know if they answer the call right away, they're still on the system generally. They're either on the website or everything, and you'll be able to get them right off the hop, and they're really impressed when you call them right away, and you've already set an expectation that not a lot of people have, and then just develop a rapport with them. And then, like Priscilla said, just constant touch points I think is very important as well. And don't just call them the first time and forget about them. You know what I mean? Like I put it in my calendar, my personal calendar, every 3 or 4 days to just reach out and see how things are going, and just ask them how their search is going, and how their day's going in general, and just develop that rapport with them.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Again, very methodical process, which I see is a common theme so far. So wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Let's go to Katie. Katie is in the Bay Area in California.
Hi, so a couple notes. One thing that I try to do in utilizing Huddle is take notes on my front little paragraph where agents' notes are so that I can see kind of the context of the calls and the conversation. So I don't have to log into the actual task. I can kind of have my dashboard on the front, and that just helps me know where we've been at in consistent follow-up. And then it just gives you more to talk about. And then the big thing for me is expecting the appointment on every time I talk to them. And if it's not about sales, the appointment, it's when are you coming out to visit, when can we get together, is a virtual tour going to work for you or an in-person tour? And it just I use the word explore and connect a lot because I want them not to feel sold to so much as let's explore this next idea, and that consistency really helps convert appointments.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Katie. Great advice. Okay, let's jump over to Terry, and Terry is in the Raleigh-Durham area in North Carolina.
Yes, so very similar to everyone else, I think it's super important to touch base as soon as you get a lead. I do take a few minutes to kind of see what neighborhood or what questions they're asking. And then if they do answer the phone, then I'm prepared that, this is, the neighborhood and what are you specifically looking for? And I may be able to answer it right off the bat and, get some rapport instantly. If they don't answer, I send a text with a link to my socials. And then if I, leave a voicemail, I follow up with an email. So all that's just kind of my process.
Wonderful. Thank you, Terry. I like that tip about if you don't get in touch, being able to personalize that text and follow up with your information. That is something that we heard from another partner recently, and she mentioned that it was a huge piece that changed her business, just really personalizing that follow-up. So really great suggestion. Thank you. All right. And last but not least, let's hear from Lucy in South Carolina.
Okay, so kind of a recap of what everybody said, but I do believe that following up consistently, regularly, it's really a lot about building a relationship and getting the client to trust you. In Myrtle Beach as a destination area, it's usually a long-term process. People are getting ready to retire. It might not be for a year, it might not be for 5 years. And so I had a client recently that was just retiring the end of June. So I followed up just to say, hey, congratulations, hopefully they actually did get to retire on time, but trying to build that relationship and keep it personal and just be consistent. I try not to nurture unless it's, they're not responsive. Sometimes, obviously, if it's like 5 years out, I'm going to put them on nurture, but then just, have a drip campaign or something going to try to stay top of mind because plans change. People come down all the time thinking they're just going to look, and then they end up buying sooner than expected. So just keeping in touch and consistent follow-up, really.
That's a really great tip, Lucy. Thank you. Of course, we all know nurture is there and it can be beneficial, but like you said, and I'm sure everybody on this call has learned that situations with our customers can change very quickly. So a great point to personalize it, keep it in touch. I really like the story about the client that was retiring and you followed up with that retirement and hoping they were able to do so. That really personalizes it and shows that you really care about that stage of their life. That's exciting. Fantastic. So there have been a couple questions that have come in. One from Jason. He is asking a question that we will get to later. So great question, Jason. We will address that later. There have been a couple of huddle questions as well and kind of success in that area, but we're going to hold that just yet and get through some of the other questions. And again, some of the other specifics we will gather and address next month as a follow-up to this call. So thank you so much, everybody. We're going to make our way back around to the beginning of the list again, and we're going to move on to some advice for new agents. So Ashley, what is your best piece of advice for a new 55 Places partner agent that is just starting out?
So two things, Lucy kind of touched on this. It takes time to convert people. This is not an instant gratification. Rarely ever do we get a call and you instantly run out and sell them a home, right? Normally it's a longer nurture, and that's okay. But my biggest piece of advice would be to know your communities, right? Know the players in the community, know the community reps, the HOA managers, know your local hotspots, doctors. I get questions all the time about, I need this specialist. Who would you recommend? So I have an entire, feature sheet, if you will, for doctors, hotspots, driver's license, where to go, how to homestead property, things like that that are specific to your market. But knowing the community, because when you get a call, 9 times out of 10, they are not buying in that community that they're calling you about. But they'll give you enough information that if you know your communities well, you can guide them to the right community.
Fantastic advice. I'm just going to put Ashley on the spot for a quick minute too. When Ashley came to our program, she really lives by those words of knowing her community. She got out there and she learned absolutely everything that she could about our communities, and not just communities, but the areas. And she has this amazing marketing packet that she sends to customers that is not just about the area, but where are the hospitals? Where are all these things? Her and I sat down and talked about it, and I was so impressed with her process. I knew it was one of the pieces that makes her so successful is the extra mile that she goes to provide customers with this information. Sometimes maybe we think in this day and age with all the information that's accessible to our customers online, that maybe we don't need to provide that, but really going that extra step to show you care about their journey has been hugely impactful in her business. I know it has. And there's a video of us having this conversation and what she does out there. So I will share it. Thank you, Ashley. We appreciate you so much. Let's go ahead and go to Priscilla with the same question. Priscilla is a seasoned agent with our program, and so she has a wealth of information to share. So curious to hear what she says. What is your advice for a new agent starting out in the program, Priscilla?
Well, pretty much ditto what Ashley just said. So thanks for all my experience. But what I want to say to a new agent is real estate has its great days, its good days, and days that we just want to go to sleep. Don't give up. Don't give up. Maybe put it away for an hour, maybe put it away for a day, but just don't get up. It's that consistency, that persistence, that tenaciousness that you have that you want to succeed. That's what's going to make you successful.
That's definitely wonderful advice. And I think we can all relate to that. There are definitely days that we can all say, I am not wanting to do this right now. So fantastic advice. Thank you so much. Let's go ahead and move on to Andrew in the Miami area. Again, what is your best piece of advice for a new agent just starting out?
I think the most important piece of advice I can tell a new agent is listen to your client and the cues that they're telling you. It's extremely important, specifically being a 55 Places member. You're dealing with generally older clientele, and they have something built in their mind that they're expecting. And I think it's very important. And this tags on Priscilla and Ashley's point, where know your markets and your communities, the HOAs, the amenities, because certain clientele, he might be 85 years old, but he doesn't need a pickleball or a tennis court. He might be looking for more medical stuff, more maybe walking path. So know your clientele. I think it's extremely important, and listen to what they're saying. And don't be afraid to ask questions, because I think new agents are afraid to ask questions. They get excited in the whole process of, I got a lead and this guy's going to transact with me. Ask the questions. And if there's always something that you missed, don't be afraid to follow up with clients and say, hey, by the way, I forgot to ask you this question. Clients really appreciate honesty and sincerity. And I think that's extremely important for new agents to understand as well.
Wonderful. That's fantastic advice. Thank you, Andrew. Okay, let's hear from Katie in what she has to share.
I think for me, a big one is to try to not be a negative Nelly, stay positive, and remember that these people have taken the time to register online because they want information. They may forget even within minutes that they just did this. Maybe they're getting calls from other agents, but just try to remain their point of contact for being the local expert, as we've talked about, and then stay positive. It's okay. Expect the no on the first day, so to speak, but try to set that appointment, try to set the what's next, and just keep going.
Very good. Thank you so much. Fantastic. All right, let's move over to Terry in North Carolina.
Yeah, I piggyback that. I mean, know the communities well, understand, you're dealing with who the clients are, listen, be positive. But you also got to be confident delivering, what you're saying too. They're wanting to hear the good things and the bad, but you got to, make it presentable to that, age group that we're dealing with.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Terry. And then Lucy in South Carolina.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself.
That's okay.
I say treat it like a business, and Huddle is a great tool to help keep you on task and, again, be repetitive with your follow-ups and all that. Obviously, knowing the communities, like everybody else has mentioned, is huge. Something that I always ask people, because a lot of people don't realize that go to our website, is that not all communities listed are 55 and over. They don't read the fine print, so I always make sure if it's not a 55 and over community that they called about, make sure they're aware of that and kind of guide them whichever direction from there.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. Again, our partners that are sharing these tips for their success are from various parts of the country. They're in different markets. Some are destination markets, some are not. Some are newer agents, some are long-term agents, but the key is really being invested in their business, being an expert in what they're delivering to their customers and staying consistent. So I appreciate what you guys had to share. We did have one question that came up that I thought may be appropriate to touch on right now. If anybody wants to take this, Tina asked, what are some suggestions for dealing with lead objections to the buyer broker agreement? If anybody has any quick tips they'd like to share on that, feel free to jump in, and then we will move on from there.
I can add my point. So I create my buyer broker agreements very differently than the average realtor. So I have a clause in Florida specifically in the additional terms. I put a clause in there that basically says the buyer is not necessarily responsible for compensating my services. And it usually what that does, it's a big icebreaker, because now with the new NAR rules, a lot of clients are like, I don't want to pay a buyer's agency commission. I don't want to pay a buyer's agency commission. And generally in Florida, we're seeing that nothing really too much has changed so much. The sellers are still offering compensation, or the sellers brokers. But what I normally do, just to add that extra layer, because they don't know you and they don't know nothing about us. They don't know whether we're good, we're bad, we got experience, we don't have experience. So I feel that, when I do bring out a client and I get them to sign the buyer agency agreement, I just basically explain to them, listen, my services are absolutely absolutely free. There's no cost to you to use my services. This is the bonus. Here's my contract. And I also offer them an easy exit agreement where if by chance they're not happy at all with the way I'm servicing them or anything, then they're able to terminate the buyer broker agreement. You know what I mean? And a lot of people, 99 out of 100 people never terminate the buyer broker agreement. They're always, they just feel that when an agent's more sincere and more transparent when they offer that service out. A lot of agents don't agree with my style. It's worked for me very, very well. So that's something that, I think a lot of agents can utilize to get more people to sign those contracts, especially when they're hesitant.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. I can understand definitely how that softens that discussion and makes it easier to digest.
Emily, can I add one thing to that? I
Absolutely.
think that it's important that you have the conversation with them when you're like, that shouldn't be the first thing out of your mouth, but have a conversation with them, especially if you're in a destination market. There's nothing worse than them getting here and you're surprising them at the door with, oh, we have to sign this before we go in. So always tell them, we do have this buyer brokerage agreement. I do have to have this signed prior to opening the doors so that I'm not at jeopardy of losing my license, but we're on a first date. If it doesn't work out, we don't have to extend, but if it does, hopefully we have a lifetime commitment. That's kind of how I relay it to them. And, I'll even do it for one day just to get them, comfortable. And then if you've proven your value and I send them a whole wealth of information prior to them ever coming, because I like for them to know what our itinerary is when they get here. So I've already built the value and the credibility and they have no problem signing it. So I think having the conversation and not having it be a surprise definitely softens the delivery.
Wonderful advice. Thank you so much, Ashley. Okay, we are going to go ahead and move on to our next question. And that is, and we've touched on this a little bit, but knowing your market. So can you share how being familiar with all of the communities in your market and having those relationships that we talked about at staff, with the staff at clubhouses and sales centers has helped you succeed? And we'll start with Ashley.
Yeah, so like we kind of touched on a while ago, it builds instant credibility when you walk in and they're like, well, hey, Ashley, you're back again. Oh, I saw Margie. She was here yesterday. When they can put faces and names together, people instantly feel like, oh, I'm with a celebrity. Like everyone knows Ashley. That's not the reality of it at all, but they feel that way. And then again, instant credibility. I also think we all have experienced, whether it's with 55 Places or a different transaction, challenges with getting, approval through HOAs. So if you have those connections and we're getting down to the wire and the approval hasn't happened for your buyer, you know who to call or you know where the office is, you know the people, they know that you know what's going on in the community. It's not like you waited till the last minute. One other thing, some of my communities, I can get pool passes or get advance notice for events for clients who are potentially interested in coming. So if I'm doing, a weekend with a client and they want to experience the lifestyle, because you are buying a lifestyle here in Florida, right? So if I can get them pool passes or guest passes to something, you may not be able to do that if you don't have those relationships.
Wonderful suggestion. Thank you so much. All right, let's jump over to Priscilla in Chicago, please.
I, again, agree with Ashley. It's very impressive when you walk in with your client and you're recognized, because I think that gives your client a level of confidence. They know that you have been there before, done business before. So I really do believe that knowing your communities, whether it's a new sales center office or whether it's the HOA, the clubhouse staff, getting to know those people, sometimes even maybe bringing them a little treat, goes a long way.
Wonderful suggestion. Okay, great. Let's hear from Andrew.
Yeah, so we're not reinventing the wheel here. To know the communities is extremely, extremely important, but specifically more so the amenities and everything. I think I get calls all the time where a client calls and basically says, okay, I'm looking at this community. I want to do this, this, and this. And then they're looking in a community that doesn't necessarily permit these things. And by you telling them and having the knowledge in advance, you're not wasting the client's time on, oh, I want to go golfing or I want to go play tennis or whatever. And those communities don't necessarily cater to that lifestyle. So I think it's more not so much being the credibility is one thing, but also being like the lifestyle manager for your client and understanding their lifestyle and what the communities have to offer. And it's by going to explore all those communities, that's extremely important as well. And take a couple weeks before you sign on to 55 Places as well and understand your market.
Yeah, wonderful suggestion. I will just pause right there and share that there are agents that as they get started in the program, that's something that we do to check in. Hey, have you visited the communities? And sometimes the answer is no, not yet. I haven't gotten around to all of them, but we really have to be able to equip ourselves to answer our clients' questions. Just like they're saying, by being a true expert and understanding what it is that you're going to have phone calls about. Let's hear from Katie in California.
So to touch on that a little bit, I love the idea of being a regional specialist because that knowledge helps conversion and what I call cross-selling. So someone had mentioned this, but maybe your client thinks that they registered for one community and you're the only specialist there, but they don't realize that you can cross-sell into other communities. So sharing your regional knowledge. I have a little tri-folded brochure now that lists like all the different 55 and over communities I service. And so it's helpful to highlight where you're at on your tour, knowing the staff is, as everyone has already highlighted, great, but then also having that confidence to share pros and cons with other areas helps you be first in mind when they say, oh, I didn't know you could go show me that one too. Let's go look to make sure. So it'll help increase your overall conversion.
Wonderful suggestion. Thank you, Katie. I love the idea of having something you can give to them in hand that says, I'm not just an expert here, but also here, here, and here. That helps guide that discussion. And some of the things you guys have already talked about, being an expert in other places, that's fantastic. All right, let's hear from Terry in North Carolina.
So this is a relationship business, and so I believe in building relationships with the on-site agents, the people at the clubhouses, and to everybody else's point, it goes a long ways in building clients' confidence. And you walk in and say, "Hey, everybody knows each other's name." I also believe in a lot of people believe in statistics, and so I'll print out a lot of statistics for people, and then once we meet, if they like those kind of things, then I'll give that to them about the market. But it's not for everybody. So I have that usually, just in case.
That's a great suggestion. I am a statistics person, so if that were me, I would want to see that. So obviously a fantastic tool to have in your arsenal in addition to those relationships. That's wonderful. All right, and last but not least, let's hear from Lucy in South Carolina.
So I was just going to say that, like on the website, we are listed as the community expert for that community. And so when they're calling in, they expect us to have answers. And obviously, if you don't, there's no better answer than just saying, I'm not sure, but I'll get back to you on that. But I have become so familiar with them that it's easy to share information, but not only knowing the communities, but being able to find the fit for them, based on what your customer's telling you that might not be the perfect fit, so you can offer other options.
That's wonderful. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and we're going to kind of shift gears a little bit and talk about some strategies for appointments and leads and our long-term leads. So we'll go back to Ashley. Ashley, how do you handle a new lead when you're already in the middle of an appointment?
This is my biggest struggle, if I'm being very honest and transparent, okay? But what I typically do, I like to be uber present with the person that I'm with. I try to do that for every client. So I do not, like if I get a live transfer, I can't answer it, right? I just can't step out. But what I do is we get the text right away. So I go in, I'll excuse myself, go in, and I'll shoot them a text and say, hi, this is Ashley, an agent partner with 55 Places. I apologize, I just missed your call or just received your inquiry, however you got it. I'm currently with a client. May I give you a call back at 3 p.m.? The downside to that is if you don't follow up, it's poor customer service, right? And we are in a relationship industry, as Terry pointed out. So make sure that whatever you're saying to them, you're actually following up and doing, set the tone from the start. But I just send a text and I will tell you, I received so many answers back to that text. Thank you, no problem. 3 o'clock works great. So, and I have a lot of conversion from that as well.
Fantastic advice.
But back to what Andrew said earlier, it's instant. So you have to do it instantly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, I know Andrew and Ashley are both very busy people, but they are definitely committed to responding quickly because they both have fantastic response times. So well done. They hold true to that. That's a really great suggestion. Setting the appointment, like you said, but then you have to stick to it because it is a customer service, and our demographic really this goes a long way with them. They do appreciate customer service and being talked to on the phone. So really nice suggestion. Thank you for that. Priscilla, same question for you. How do you handle a new lead when you're already in the middle of an appointment?
If it's at all possible, I will excuse myself for a minute and just comment to my current client, that I just have to make a quick call. And I will make that quick call and I'll tell them I'm in another appointment, but I wanted to acknowledge that they had interest, give them my name, and then follow through on it.
Fantastic. Thank you. All right. Definitely. Absolutely a great suggestion if you're able to excuse yourself to address it right away and then set that appointment for follow-up. All right. Andrew, what about you?
I piggyback off of both, excuse me, piggyback off of both Priscilla and Ashley. Generally what I have, in my iPhone, I have like a note section and I'll have a templated auto response, but it's very personalized. And then you just plug and play the names of the people. And when the lead comes in, if I'm in a meeting with a client and it's important, sometimes I'll just say, listen, I just send a quick text or an auto response and, call. The most important thing if you're doing that, it's like Ashley said, you have to follow up right after your appointment, because if you leave it off for even a couple hours or a few hours, you've lost possibly that lead and that client. And I can't tell you, I've probably, with 55 places, I'm still on the newer side of things, but a lot of clients always appreciate that. And generally, once you get back to them right away, those are the clients that end up transacting with you down the line as well.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Andrew is being modest. He's extremely new to the program, but he's been extremely successful. In our conversations with him, we can tell, just like all of our partners here and many of you on the call, he is extremely dedicated to his follow-up and having a very distinct process for his clients, which has led to his success. So really some great suggestions. Thank you so much. Katie, what about you? What is your tip for how handling a new lead when in an appointment?
So when they're coming in as a phone call, like the call transfers, I always try to excuse myself to actually accept the call. And sometimes I'll joke and say, oh, it's my boss calling with a new client, just like you guys, just give me a minute, and I'll be right back. And that's kind of based off of my established relationship with that client. Maybe it's our second or third time out. If it's like my very first 5 to 10 minutes of engaging with them, I use a little read the room principle to see if it'd be appropriate to step out or not, but I always try to call back. I also set up integration with my brokerage CRM so that as soon as I get an actual, web-based inquiry, they're getting a text and an email within like 1 minute saying expect my call shortly. So I feel like at least we always have it's personalized but automated, and they know that I'm, going to be in communication soon. So it establishes it right away, even if it's going to be a small delay.
That's a wonderful suggestion. Thank you so much, Katie. Okay, and Terry, what about you?
Same as everyone else, pretty much. I try to give the people I'm with my undivided attention, but if I have to necessarily step away, then I ask to be excused and do the best. I have learned quickly how to use the shortcuts on my phone and to send quick text that automatically say I will call you back shortly in a meeting, those kind of things. So I feel like, again, making it a quick touch point and following up as soon as you can is important.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Terry. And Lucy.
You guys just don't leave me anything left to say. No, basically the same thing everybody else said. The most important thing I think too is just, saying to your clients, do you mind if I take this, or do you mind if I, send a quick text to a customer or whatever, and just, be respectful to them because you're, they're present, and obviously nobody's ever minded, so it always works out.
Fantastic. Thank you, Lucy. And there's a reason, right, that we keep hearing something a little bit similar from these top performers. And that's because what we're hearing, the consistency, the customer service that we're delivering, responding quickly, it works. It is successful. We all may kind of have our own little spin on it, but you can see the thread of consistency throughout all of these different personalities and different markets. So thank you so much for that. All right, let's go to, instead of kind of the concept of a new lead and how we're handling that, but something that's long-term. So Ashley, when someone inquires, and I'm sure this happens being in a destination market, but when someone inquires but isn't ready to visit yet, What strategies do you use to keep them engaged and build urgency or interest for your area?
So I start with my mindset. Every time I'm on the phone, my entire goal is to set an appointment, right? Like that's it. So when we're on the phone, I just try to, this sounds very blunt, but I try to create urgency. I have a full calendar. I want to make sure that I get you on there. I understand things may change. I understand, especially being in a destination market, flights, etc. Are you coming on vacation anytime soon? So I just try to create, like, pull out of them when they are coming. Everyone's visiting Florida at some point. So when are you coming? I just need a half day for a tour of the town. That's it, right? Just to try to get them on the calendar. Sometimes there are things that come up, such as they might be having surgery or they're taking care of a family member. At that point, I use it as an opportunity to get their address and I send them a handwritten card or may send flowers if they're having surgery. But really and truly, I always add them to my CRM because I use two, which we'll talk about later, hopefully. But I add them to my CRM and I do a newsletter monthly. In that newsletter, not only do I give market stats, et cetera, but I always highlight an active adult community that I service. So additionally, they're on the 55 Places drips that we send out as a new buyer, but we're also on, they're getting my newsletter. So we're dripping them with, hey, here's a little sprinkle. This is like a new community, or this is the highlights of the community. But I always, always, always try to get them on my calendar and just follow up with them.
Fantastic. I really like that mindset of getting a commitment from them and setting an appointment. That's a great way to go into that. Wonderful. Priscilla, what about you?
So I think that when you get someone who tells you they're not looking for a year or two, sometimes that's not quite accurate. They just don't want to be pressured. So the verbiage that I like to use for myself is I'll tell people, I'm happy to join you on this journey. And if you'd like to go out and do nothing more than have a clubhouse tour, that can be done. If you'd like to look at a few homes, because if you can just get them out that first time, even if they truly aren't looking for the next year or two, they're going to remember you more.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I like that suggestion and I like that wording. Absolutely. Okay. And Andrew, how about you?
Yeah, so again, kind of along the same lines, I think I try to create myself as not so much as a salesperson or a real estate agent, but more of a lifestyle guide for them. And I want to showcase the different lifestyles that these communities offer. And by doing that is once, you have to develop a little bit of empathy with the client and get to know them and develop a little bit of a rapport. But once you do and you get to know their wants and needs, create like a small little like brochure package similar to what everyone else is kind of doing with, don't highlight all the communities, highlight 1 to max 3 communities that you think suit their specific lifestyle. And then that's how you kind of just keep them on the hook, and then just following up with them afterwards and, showcasing, oh, by the way, this community has this event. You want to go take a look at it, or that community is doing this, or there's a mixer of some sort on this weekend, and just kind of establish that lifestyle for them. And then they'll always follow up and call you once you do that.
Wonderful. That's a great suggestion. I'm just really briefly going to touch on a couple questions that have come in. There's been a question about the video I talked about with Ashley and I and her presentation packet. Yes, we will send that video out. Her and I did that, I think it was about 1.5 years ago, somewhere around there. So we will send that out for information. And then there was also some interest about Katie's trifold. So I will talk to her more about that, everybody, in our follow-up email when we send this out. We will touch on that. So thank you so much, you guys. Let's go ahead and jump over to Katie and your strategies for our long-term leads, somebody who isn't ready to visit yet. What strategies do you use?
So there's a couple facets to it that I think I find helpful, and it's a perfect combination of automation and phone calls. So making sure that they're on a regular drip with your emailed, YouTube community tours. I do every other month newsletters featuring like a different Bay Area community, and that goes to, all the nurtures as well. And then don't underestimate the power of a phone call, just checking in, because they remember your voice. They remember that you remembered something about the phone call that you did have. And, I know you were waiting for your grandbaby to be born, or I know you were waiting for retirement, or you said you were a couple of years out last time. Are we still on track? You're just kind of setting an expectation for the long-term journey, as Priscilla mentioned. I like that word a lot too.
Wonderful. Thank you, Katie. All right. And Terry, how about you? What strategies do you use?
So one thing I feel like that I do a little bit unique is as soon as I can get them engaged, I send what I call a homework assignment to them, and I ask them for their top 10 criteria in the home they're looking for and 3 knockout factors. And then once I get that list, I incorporate that into my MLS collaboration center emails. And so I use 3 CRMs basically. And so, if they're not really actively looking and they're kind of on the fence, then if I see they've liked a home on the collab center, then I'll send them an email. I may call and just, follow up. But I feel like that gets people engaged and thinking about it. And then, well, there's a house that has everything that I was looking for in it. And so it may speed up their timeline.
That's a really great suggestion. I think sometimes maybe we have a tendency, if somebody tells us, I'm not ready for a year or two, we put them on the back burner. Maybe we don't move them up on the priority list. But if we're still treating them like they're ready tomorrow and giving them those options, it will shift that timeline. Like you said, you never know. The right house may come along tomorrow, and that 1 to 2 year timeline has quickly shifted. I know we have countless stories of those across our partners all the time. So wonderful. Thank you, Terry. And Lucy, how about you?
So a lot of the same. I think it's important to not to, again, just back to the whole follow-up thing. Don't just throw them on a search and forget about them. Follow up. How's the search working out for you? Is there any change? Are there any changes you'd like me to make to it? Keeping them informed on anything new that you learn about, maybe like a new construction community, if they have a certain promotion going on that month. I recently had information from a builder where they're offering appliance package, just little things like that to kind of keep them in the loop. And again, I always know that their timeline changes a lot. So.
Wonderful. Thank you. Again, all really great advice in how to deal with our customers that tell us they are not ready just yet, that their timeline is longer, a year or two out, how to strategize around that. So next, we're going to talk about something that has been on a lot of our agents' minds. My husband is a real estate agent as well. He has been for a long time. The market in Chicago is a little sensitive. So we are all currently, just like he is, dealing with multiple offer situations. And maybe it started to shift in your market a little bit, but we're coming out of a time that we've dealt with that. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Ashley, we'll start with you. So if you have had a client in the past that misses out on a multiple offer situation, how do you keep them motivated and guide them towards the next opportunity?
So first, let's just talk about, a lot of our clients are not first-time home buyers. They have bought homes, they know what they're looking for, but it may have been 20 years since they purchased a home. So sometimes their mentality is still, when they purchased 20 years ago, we were able to negotiate all of this, right? So I think first and foremost, yes, there may be a better home out there for them. And I always end with that, right? Like there's a better one out there for you. But it's a teachable moment for me, right? It's a teachable moment. This is the market. This is what the market is doing, because maybe it was a low offer, right? We're not real. The Florida market, my Florida market, is not really in an escalation or appraisal gaps or anything. That's not the market we're in. It's typically like a home that's priced too low, or it's a hot commodity, something like that. So it's a teachable moment for me, but also, sometimes we went in with our best foot forward and we just missed it still. At that point, there is a better home for you. So I get, boots on the ground. Let's find if there's another one in the area. If not, sometimes, a lot of times my clients are out of town. So, maybe there's like for instance, I can think of one client, they were so bummed and they had already gone home by the time they realized they missed it. And we had a backup plan, but you're still going to sulk for a moment. So there was a glow in the dark pickleball tournament that weekend that they left. So I went out there and invited myself, right? Because I knew my community managers, and I did a video and I sent it to her and I was like, listen, we're not giving up on this community. You're a pickleball player. This is what you wanted. Look what all the fun they're having this weekend. And then, a house ended up coming on the market and we got it under contract, but just keeping them excited and just talking to them.
I really love that. It can be deflating, right? If we've missed out on an offer, not just for our clients, but for ourselves. but really having that right mentality. And I love that you went to glow in the dark pickleball. That sounds like a lot of fun. So that's a
It
great
was in the retirement communities. It's a lot of fun.
it sounds like it. That's awesome. Really just keeping that engagement and showing them that, yes, don't give up. Like Priscilla said, sometimes we got to set it aside for an hour or maybe a day, but don't give up, keep going. So Priscilla, how about you? What strategies, or if a client misses out in a multiple offer situation, how do you guide them to the next opportunity?
So it has been pretty ferocious here.
Yeah.
And I try to educate a little bit, be a friend mentor in letting them know what the market condition is as we step into it. And if we know we're in a multiple offer situation, I feel it's my job to encourage them to position themselves the best they can. So if they have the wherewithal to pay instead of that mortgage, if they will sign an as is, it just things that will help if they'll sign a mortgage appraisal. Everything that you can do to encourage. And like Ashley said, sometimes no matter what you do, you lose. But then I think it's up to us to be not a cheerleader, but just to keep them going forward. 2 months ago, we lost to a home here, and they asked if we would take if my client would consider be a backup offer. We said yes. The first deal fell. We got it.
Awesome. That's awesome.
So, yeah, I just think that being genuine
Mhm.
and having them believe that you're operating in their best interest, which I'm sure we do. But like you said, if people haven't purchased a home in 20 years, they don't know.
Yeah. Really great suggestion. Thank you, Priscilla. Andrew, how about you?
Yeah, so I think when we're in multiple offer situations in the market, we kind of can predict which properties will generate multiples and which ones won't. So it's very important to set that expectation in the beginning and let the clients know, by the way, this property is subject to multiple offers. You're likely going to be competing against 5 to 10 people, and just set that expectation and say, listen, whether it's this one or another one, just know as long as we put our best foot forward, we can only do what we can do. And if other people have other means, that's out of our control. And there's always other properties that it could be better than this one. And what's meant to be will always be. And they kind of always tend to resonate with that. And also, it's very important too to acknowledge the loss and the reason why maybe we lost out on this property. Maybe the client was stubborn in a certain way that they only wanted to do. Maybe they didn't want to put a secondary deposit. Maybe they didn't want to waive the inspection or waive the loan contingency, right? So just acknowledging that loss and just setting it up for the next one, and just constantly always showing them other options as well once that happens. Because I think if you stop, you'll lose that client and they'll get very, very demotivated. I think it's important to keep the dialogue going.
Wonderful. Thank you for that suggestion. Katie, how about you?
So I try to set the right expectations going into a multiple offer situation. And let me tell you, I can't wait till California gets back to the market, which we would see that because we've got crickets right now. It's tough on the listing side. But setting the right expectation, showing your market knowledge, and then I like to call it laying your cards out when you're going to the negotiating table. Or not the negotiating table, but the buyer with the negotiation strategies. I like to kind of point out multiple different ways we can strategize for a deal. We can strategize for the opportunity to win with, just all of your real estate tools. Put them out on the table, help your buyer feel in control of the offer they made. So that way, when it comes to the response of the offer, it's like, okay, well, we tried this strategy. It's not as much about you as the agent feeling them. It's just, we put our best foot forward with all of these tools and resources, and now we just got to go for the next one. But it kind of prepares them. They're knowledgeable. They're aware of it could go either way and what their strengths and weaknesses are. And then you just move on along.
Fantastic advice. Thank you, Katie. Terry, how about you?
Yeah, we'll have to take the personal feelings out of it and emotions. It's a business. So you try to go in with the best foot forward, the best offer you can. And if there's multiple offers, try to go back. But again, to everybody's point, you got to keep that positive attitude. I think it's important to follow up with your client soon after that, right? And not let them go away and pout and sulk about it, and make sure that, it's a learning process. You learned, the next one you're going to do better.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Lucy, how about you?
So our market's been a little bit slower. We're not dealing with multiple offers right now, but if I was, I think it's mostly about educating your client so they know their options so that they can put their best foot forward. Just, going down the breakdown of little details, whether as I believe it was Katie that mentioned cash versus, or maybe it was Priscilla, I'm sorry, cash versus mortgage, just, what might give them a better opportunity to get the home that they're looking for.
Wonderful.
They're
Thank
bidding
you.
on.
Yeah. So again, like a common theme amongst everybody, but really being an advocate and an educator for our clients, right? We're not going in just like by the seat of our pants and seeing what will happen and cross our fingers and see if we win this one, but really educating, keeping our clients prepared in advance, being their advocate, and then keeping that positive mental attitude towards whatever the result is. So really good stuff. We are closing in on our last 10 minutes. We've got a couple more questions to go through, but one that I want to touch on that has been asked before is talking about our CRM management. I know I will preface this with, I know not everybody is the hugest Huddle fan, but we also have heard the importance of keeping updated with our CRM, no matter what it is, to be successful. So Ashley, I'm going to start with you. You also mentioned that you use more than one CRM. How do you effectively manage both systems, and why do you think it's important?
So as I mentioned earlier, I am in huddles 6, 7, 8 times a day. And I have obviously multiple monitors, like most of us probably do. So I use KV Core and I use Huddle. I have them both pulled up and I literally enter everything honestly in KV Core, and then I just copy and paste, because I do, as I think Katie mentioned, use the notes section. Because when someone calls for KV or for 55 Places, I will typically go to Huddle, not my KV Core. But I just update both at the same time. To me, it's a copy paste. It's an extra 30 seconds of my time. I love Huddle for all the resources that we have there. I love that, based on the data that I put in, it prompts me to continue to call folks, but my CRM does as well, right? My CRM is a little more in depth as far as, like I send out a monthly magazine to clients and things like that, in addition to an electronic email with my newsletter. So there's just different purposes for different CRMs, but literally it's 30 seconds extra for me to go in and add the information. Again, if it's a client call and I'm sitting at my desk, which is very rare, this is a rare moment, but if I'm actually sitting at my desk, I will use Huddle as opposed to KV Core, because it's literally the same data.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Priscilla, how about you?
Sorry, it cut out for a second. Actually, I use full time is Huddle. So just keeping it updated, using it religiously, that's my only CRM.
Wonderful. Thank you for being a dedicated Huddle user. We appreciate that. Andrew, how about you?
So I use a CRM called Great Agent. It allows me basically to phone call, text, kind of do everything in the CRM. But I also use Huddle. Like my 55 Places leads just stay in Huddle, and I religiously go over it. Sometimes if the app doesn't work, I find the desktop version never really gives you a problem. So I always go on the desktop version and update it there. But it's just constantly updating it and making sure you're inputting the right notes. I think that's very important.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And Katie, how about you?
So I use KV Core as well through the brokerage and Huddle. I'm actually kind of a Huddle fan, but what I had to do is find my way to operate within that note so it's not clunky, so to speak, because I don't like going into the task to see, like, did I call them last? Did I leave a message or email? So I just put it all in my agent notes. I type the date and then the task and what I do kind of up front, and that's been helping me. But I automate my other CRM for the emails, for the videos, for just the not so personal things. So that way I know what's happening over there. I don't log the automation into Huddle, but then I just use Huddle for all of the calls and the notes and the personal things to keep track.
Wonderful. That's a great suggestion. I really like that. All right. So Terry, how about you?
So I log into Huddle every morning, just kind of look and see what everything is. I also sort my clients of attempted contact, down to the bottom and kind of see who I need to touch. But I also have a second CRM. We use DeltaNet with our firm, and I use it mostly for sending, like holidays, July 4th or whatever's coming up, those kind of touches. But I categorize all my clients in that CRM. So if I have more people in state, they get a certain set of, flyers, and people out of state and things like that.
Wonderful. Great suggestion. And Lucy, how about you?
Same as Priscilla. I mostly just use Huddle. We had another program in our office called Sierra, but I find it easier just to keep it all in one place. I had a thought I was going to share with you about that, and I lost it now.
No worries. Well, thank you all for sharing that. Again, so two things like that I hear is, right, the importance of using it multiple times a day, logging in maybe at the beginning of the day and the end of your day and somewhere in between. And if you're utilizing a secondary CRM, we know that there's some really amazing CRM companies out there that can do some really serious things, right? So if you are using those, use those for the things that Huddle can't do. Huddle cannot do it all. But Huddle does contain your customer information that we send you. So it's important to keep on top of it. While we don't have a talkback integration with other CRMs for that other CRM for KB Core, for example, to tell us what you did there. There is a CC parsing ability for Huddle to tell your other CRM what came in. So if that's something that you are not utilizing and would like to, you can send an email to the sales manager team and we can walk you through those steps. Also, if you have a suggestion, I can't make any promises that we can make it happen, but some of our greatest suggestions and Huddle changes have been from our partner agents. Like, hey, it would be great if Huddle could do this. This would be helpful when I'm in the field. You can let us know. We'll try our best with the engineering team to see if it's possible. No promises. We are a small but mighty team, but definitely share what would be helpful for you, and we can go from there. Okay, let's go ahead. We are nearing the end of our time together, and the last question that I want to ask is something that we all, for the most part, all of us deal with, and that is around builder commissions and some of the challenges that we have since we do work in a new construction environment. So if you have encountered a builder who refuses to work with buyer agents or won't offer a commission, how do you handle it and what are your next steps? We'll start with Ashley.
So I honestly have not encountered this, being completely transparent. However, we have our own buyer brokerage agreement with my brokerage. And part of what it says on there is, this is my commission, right? And the next box literally says, if you do not want to see homes that are not at least paying that commission, they can check that box. I typically don't have people check that box, but if there's someone who's just adamant they're not going to pay, I always have them check it. I know what my builders are paying. Again, that goes back to that whole knowing your community, being ingrained with the industry and knowing what's going on and the changes. There's new communities that are popping up all the time, but we have development phase where we should be figuring that out, right? So I really haven't encountered that. I have encountered that folks, they might only offer 1% as opposed to 3%. And we will have a conversation because I do have a minimum, we can't work for free. So we will have the conversation, perhaps we could negotiate X off of the sales price or get X for your concessions, understanding that you would typically be paying that anyway, but in lieu of paying that, they're giving you the concessions and you would make up the commission difference. Again, it really hasn't been a problem in my specific territory.
Wonderful. That's a fantastic suggestion for negotiating that. I'm glad that it hasn't been a problem. We want you guys to get paid. Absolutely. All right. And so next, let's jump over to Priscilla. Priscilla, have you encountered that or has?
So I haven't had that happen to me personally, but just last week, one of the brokers in our office sat through an entire presentation. Her buyer went to contract. It never came up. The staff didn't bring it up, and they were not paying agent commission. So then it fell back onto having to go back and execute the buyer broker agreement. But and I think that's awkward. But in particular, that builder has paid commissions before. I don't know whether it was just specific to this community, but I guess I would say before you bring your clients in, I would call the community and see what their compensation is.
Yeah, great suggestion. And Andrew, what about you?
Yeah, I thank God I haven't had that issue as well with dealing with builders, but generally, like Priscilla said, I would always pre-call the developer's office and speak with the sales staff and kind of see in terms of incentives what they're doing to provide to the clients. And sometimes what I'll like to do is I'll like to pre-negotiate certain incentives for clients, and some builders are more open than others to do that. When you do that, you add a little bit more value, and you can tell the client, hey, by the way, this builder's not compensating us, but I got you X, and that kind of helps in terms of the negotiation with the compensation for yourself. And 9 out of 10 times it's all about your approach and dealing with the builder and the sales team, right? Because builders got most of them got deep pockets, and usually the ones that don't pay, they're either really really big or they're really really small. So, and you can kind of use that to your advantage as well, dealing with your clients and saying, this builder, just so you know, full transparency, this builder's not offering me any compensation. But take a look at this and look at their quality of finishes and look at this and that and look at their price point compared to the market. And you can justify in many different ways whether or not, it's worth it for them to pursue that builder or not as well, right? But I think it's just preliminary conversations, very, very important.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great suggestion. And I would say that through this relationship building with our clients, right, the majority of our clients want us to have a paycheck, right? So being able to have that knowledge and navigate the pros and cons of a community that they're looking at is important. So, all right, let's jump over to Katie. Katie, how about you? Have you dealt with this and how have you navigated it?
So kind of two different facets to that. We all have a national builder that shall not be named on the recorded call, right? That just was not buyer agent friendly and did not pay for years. And that was even when things were in escalation, just multiple offers everywhere. So I think it's important to know your market, know what the builders are offering as well as you can. But the bigger piece of the puzzle that I have is, they already pre-registered. And then what? So kind of trying to get a good gauge on that, coaching your clients through, ultimately your goal is to help be the advocate for them, but empower them with other options that may be more attractive. As some of the other agents have said, negotiate what you can in terms of incentives. In the last year, I think the buyer broker agreements are going to be much more helpful for people. I don't know how, that conversation is going to be entirely navigated with your buyer, probably better off upfront than on the rears, but also be really careful. I just had a major loss, big piece of humble pie, but I had a buyer I worked with for days and days. And we probably saw 30 properties. They were all over the place. Asked them multiple times in another market, would you be interested in this neighborhood? I think it'd be a great fit. No. And my buyer agreement was in one county. Well, it ended up being in the other county, and they decided to stop by on their way home. And once they were registered, there was just no, even though I know those folks, their systems are just such. So, try to be informed, try to be broad covering, stay in communication, but protect yourself.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Thank you for that. And I'm sorry that happened. That is,
It happens.
yeah, it does.
Next.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Terry, how about you? Have you dealt with that and how have you navigated it?
I have not encountered that in the new construction. We've seen a little bit on the resale side, given the sellers are in control of what the buyer agent commission is paid by them. And I take Ashley's approach. This is what we can negotiate potentially off the price of the home. On the new construction side, though, I will say there are some builders are getting more constrictive as far as you need to be with them on the first visit, and so I make that clear on the emails and conversations with clients. Hey, if you want representation and you want to go to a new construction, please let me be with you on the first visit and register you.
Wonderful, great advice. Lucy, how about you? Have you dealt with that and how have you navigated it?
Thankfully, I have not. I'm actually working with 2 builders right now who are not only offering the percentage, but they're offering a bonus. So that was refreshing. I do have one that I'm potentially going to be working with this weekend that did tell me that they don't pay a percentage, they pay a flat fee. which when I did the math would end up being about half of what the percentage would be. So that's something that she did inform me, if I have a buyer's agency agreement at a certain amount, that they will present that to the builder when they submit the contract. And she said
Wonderful.
they've been successful so far, so keeping my fingers crossed.
Awesome. That's great. Well, lots of really good suggestions. We are at time. We're a little bit over. I do again want to thank all of our partner agents, not only for joining us today, but this amazing group that we had sharing their knowledge with you today. Again, I think we saw like really the key to their success is this ability to build relationships, to be patient, to be their customer's advocate, to be knowledgeable, not just about the communities, but their business as well. And I will say they are true partners in the sense of the word with us as well. That is to me one thing that attributes our success with our company is every single person here really represents a true partnership with our team here. And we can't tell you how much that means to us. So this is being recorded. We will share it with everybody. That way you can go back and pull out any tidbits. There were also some requests for some things that were talked about on the call today. We'll share that as well. And we will follow it up next month with a huddle webinar with some things that we talked about. So thank you again all so very much. I hope you have a wonderful weekend and thank you for being a partner with us.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you guys. Bye guys.
Bye-bye.
All
Great
right, thank
day.
you.